And a good evening to you. Welcome to the Green and Gold postgame show live right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Your clear choice for Edmonton sports. Iwanyk and Jay Milne with here. The Edmonton Elks fall to 0-3 on the season after falling in Winnipeg 36-23. Lots to get to on this show today. Your thoughts always going to be welcome in the nasty chat. You could also text us 780-218-9999. Thank you to everyone for listening on TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Apple Music, EdmontonSportsTalk.com, watching live on YouTube or listening to us on podcast wherever you get your podcast. Again, Iwanyk and Jay Milne with you here. I want to say this is going to be mostly, this could be a very positive post-game show, but I'd be lying. Not going to lie, a little disappointed, a little frustrated on aspects of the Edmonton Elks. But at the same time, of something we discussed going into this game from the kickoff show was, could you have moral victories? And there are moral victories to take away from this one. But how this game happened, it does also feel like a bit of a missed opportunity for the Edmonton Elks to grab their first win of the season. With that, I will bring in Jay Milne. Your initial thoughts on tonight's game and what we just watched out in Winnipeg.
Well, it was kind of the tale of two halves. The tale of two quarters in the second half. And at the end of the day, you know, one of my keys to the game was for the defense to show up. They did for one quarter. They didn't early. Deep balls killed this team again.
Did they ever?
But then you look at the third quarter and you say, wow, where was that? Out of the 4 drives in the third quarter, Winnipeg punted 4 consecutive drives. They only punted in the third quarter. 3-play drive, 4-play drive, 3-play drive, 3-play drive. Each of them punts.
16 combined yards, offensive yards for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in the third quarter.
Yeah. So you look at that. And I don't know how this defense can be so Jekyll and Hyde. Offensively, not good enough.
It was good until they needed to really step up.
Well, until the pressure got turned up, yeah.
Right. Like they actually, in the first quarter, were pretty good. Julian Grant with a missed touchdown that he should have caught near the end of that second half. Back-to-back weeks, the Edmonton Elks receivers have hurt this team. And this one, you can't even be like, well, Trey Ford's pass. Like, it was right in Julian Grant's hands. And it bounced off his helmet.
That was a terrible drop.
And it takes away 7 points off the board. Justin Rankin fumbles the ball after the Elks get a turnover in field goal territory. That's 10 points right there. That's 10 points the Edmonton Elks offense lost. But for the most part, they moved the ball well through that first half. Their offensive results, there was punt, but then touchdown, field goal, punt, Rankin fumble, but they were in Winnipeg territory, field goal to end that first half, which should have been a touchdown. They were moving nicely. It was 23-23, but right before it was 23-23, when that defense was getting stops, the Elks had a chance to go put this game away, or at the very least, take a little bit more control. And unfortunately for the offense, in that third quarter, after they got their touchdown, they had a punt, a field goal for the tie, punt, end of football game. That's how they wrapped it up. They had a chance to go take the lead. They had a chance to go to leave their defense off the field. Like, if there's one thing I will say for the defense and maybe why things did change from third to fourth, this is one I'll say maybe they got tired. Maybe they got a little bit tired because the offense wasn't doing anything. But they had it. They were going well. And then all of a sudden the offense just couldn't get anything done. And Julian Grant also another drop in the second half.
Yeah.
Like it was, I think at that time it might have been 26-23. There was a blitz. Trey read it well. He threw the ball. I had to go pause it because TSN didn't give enough replays. I found it went right through Julian Grant's hands. That should have been a first down. Instead, they're punting the football.
They had all the momentum coming out of the third quarter, and the ball game was tied 23-all. 3 drives in the fourth quarter. Like you said, punt, end of game. Not good enough. I mean, when the heat's turned up and you're in a battle, look what, both these teams were going like this entering the fourth quarter.
It's for those listening, a collision course.
Yeah, collision course. Sorry.
Upward trend.
Edmonton fell off the face of the earth in the fourth quarter. They couldn't do anything.
On all accounts except for the return game. They had a couple nice returns in the fourth.
Yep.
That set them up in positions, and they didn't take advantage of those.
Special teams, once again, very good. Blanchard, 3 for 3, hit a 41-yard field goal.
And that's a pressure field goal to me, too.
Yep.
Because you're down by 3. You could tie this football game. Last year, Boris Meady missed some of those kicks. Full credit to Vincent Blanchard. There's no conversation with the kicker for a while here now.
No, that's great to know.
It's solidified. I think that's what you said to me. Hey, then they have a kicking game.
What was your key to the game?
My key was you got to force mistakes by the Blue Bombers, and when you force the mistake, if you force the mistake, make them pay.
So on that punt fumble, Winnipeg fumbled the punt.
Yep.
Edmonton got the ball. Justin Rankin gets him punched out.
By not taking care of that ball well enough. And that was one where he fumbles that ball at the Winnipeg 35. The score in that game at the moment is 20-10. You're thinking at worst case, they're kicking a field goal at that moment.
Yeah.
It's 20-13.
Absolutely.
And Julian Grant, if he catches that football, like we're talking about likely a close to a tied football game going to half if Rankin and Julian Grant don't make their mistakes. And that's with the defense playing rather porous in that first half.
Oh, rather porous? Zach Collaros threw for 232 yards and 3 touchdowns in the first half.
Yeah, I was being polite there.
That is a flood. That is a water main break. That was disgusting. I don't know what to do with this defense.
But like one positive I'll say is, and then it's going to lead to a quick negative here. They started getting pressure as that game went on. As we got into the second half, they were getting the pressure. They were getting closer to Collaros. They got a couple sacks. Serezna came through, made that play on Nick Dembski for a loss. That said, they also can't tackle, it seems, because Zach Collaros ran for a 15-yard touchdown or something on them when they were there. Like that should have been. That was an important moment too, because I think it was a 3-point ball game at that time. Well, I know it was a 3-point ball game at the time. It was 26-23. They tackle Zach Collaros there. You maybe are forcing a field goal. And what is it this ball game if the Elks are only down 6 points as opposed to 10 in that moment?
Huge. They just didn't capitalize on anything. They didn't capitalize on the momentum coming out of the third quarter. They had all the momentum. That was a game that was in reach. That was a game that they could have won. And then just went flat, dead flat. Not good enough.
Yeah, well, after that, then here's the offense. I'll just go with them. And then I'll actually go to the defense on this. But the offense in the second half, they open up with a 3-play, 80-yard drive. Julian Grant with the catch, broken coverage by the Bombers. Make them pay.
Great first drive.
Here's the offensive possessions after that, the rest of this game. 3 for 0 yards, 4 for 4 yards, 3 for 4 yards, 5 for 16 yards, 3 for no yards, 3 for no yards, 6 for 36 yards. End of game. Defensively, after a great fourth quarter, here's what they did. 4 plays for 45 yards, 11 plays for 71 yards, 8 plays for 47 yards.
Yeah, field goal, touchdown, field goal.
Yeah.
Winnipeg kept going. Winnipeg did what you're supposed to do in a competition. Keep grinding. Keep going. Edmonton just stopped. So, what was the question of the day? Would you find a moral victory?
Can you accept a moral victory for tonight?
You know what? There probably was a moral victory if they keep playing. If they can sustain anything in the that fourth quarter really burns this whole thing.
I agree.
That fourth quarter really is salt in the wound. It was 23-all going into the fourth quarter. This was they had it in their hands. They had this game in control. They did, even in a tie game. You cannot tell me that they did not have all the momentum. They just forced Winnipeg into 4 straight punts.
Yeah.
This is the same Winnipeg team that scored 3 touchdowns through the air and had 232 yards passing in the first half. They had the momentum. They just didn't finish. They didn't do anything in the fourth quarter other than watch Winnipeg run away with it.
If we chose not to cover the fourth quarter and jump on with a post-game show and just assume that the Elks lose by a field goal, we would have had a lot of... we would have talked very positively about this game, and it would have been mostly about the moral victories. But you're right. I'm trying to... Because, we were talking about, like, this is good. This is good. But I'm sitting here, and I'm somewhat pissed off about how this ended. And you're right. It's because of how that fourth quarter went, where you can't tell me this team's not good enough to go score points. You can't tell me this team isn't good enough to make stops, because you did it in this game. You went out there and moved the ball really well at moments in this game offensively.
Yes.
And not out of just a surprise. Like, throughout that first half, there was a number of really good drives. And defensively, we saw it in the third quarter that you could stop Zach Collaros. You could stop Nick Dempsey. You could stop what the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are doing. And it just all went away. The Bombers made fourth quarter adjustments, and the Elks just chose, we're fine. We're good. We did enough. We got the moral victory. We don't need to do anything else. Looking ahead, I do feel good about this team for this season still. I saw the signs I needed to tonight for the moral victory part of this to go. They could go beat Ottawa on July 6th.
Well, there's an offense here.
There is an offense there that can actually produce in the CFL, and they could do it somewhat consistently for at least a period of time in a game. Defensively, they can get to a quarterback. They can make some stops. They could make some defensive plays in the secondary. We saw that in the third quarter. Maybe this is a byproduct to the degree of that I've been going into this season with it's a tough schedule to start. And there's the signs I've been looking for to be like, yes, everything I was saying going into the season is going to be right, and they're going to get going on July 6th against Ottawa. So I saw that. So the moral victories, there are some for me. But man, this feels like a missed opportunity. Man, this feels like they dropped the ball metaphorically. Because how much easier would the rest of the season be if they were instead 1-2, coming off a Winnipeg win? You walked into Winnipeg, beat them for the first time in 13, beat them for the first time in Winnipeg since 2018. Written off, you were 11-point underdogs at one point going into tonight's game. And you walk away with a victory. And instead, the Bombers covered. I don't want to make this about a betting thing, but the Bombers in the end, after a tied football game going into the third quarter, covered a game where there were 2-score favorites going into this one. It is a piss off.
Well, it's inexcusable. And it's not like this is a rookie young team. There's a lot of veterans on this team. They're going to have to look themselves in the mirror and wake up. You're in a tie game going into the fourth quarter. And you absolutely, the bed. Couldn't move the ball. And then just, I don't want to harp on this too much, but Kion Julian Grant needs to have a better game. He dropped that touchdown in the first half.
Which, take away the ranking, that's 7 points.
On a big second down, Winnipeg brought the house. Trey delivers a good throw right through the hands of Kion Julian Grant. Not acceptable.
Nope.
So, look, man, if this team can't put it together, I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's the Golden Bears. They aren't beating a team. They aren't beating a team. And I mean the word team. I mean that. This team is disjointed. This team is just out of rhythm. I mean, that defense in the first half was disgusting. The secondary, anyhow. The secondary, I don't know what to do here.
It was 2 30-yard plus passes. 30-plus yard passes that ended up being touchdowns. And
how many games in a row?
4 touchdowns the Elks have given up of 20-plus yards going into this game. Now it's up to 6, I think. Is it more in the fourth quarter? I'll have to double check that. Sorry, continue with what you were saying.
How many games is Devondrick Bynum going to get torched over the top? Every game. 3 games this year. He's been beat deep in each game. That's not good enough.
No.
You can't have that at a professional level. I'm sorry. If you think you're better than you are, wake up. Why are you putting Devondrick Bynum in one-on-one backside coverage? He's not good enough. He's not good enough. Do not leave him isolated like that. He can't handle that. And it's just happening. It's like, what's the definition of
insanity?
Insanity.
Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
Yeah. What are you doing? Don't put him in one-on-one coverage. Can't do it.
And the other part defensively is like, we heard Trey Ford on the kickoff show. We played it. I talked about it a little on the kickoff show. Maybe you're going up against Zach Collaros, who can't move. He can't run. Davis Alexander could be mobile. Nathan Rourke could be mobile. And one of the guys is one of your veterans. And Niles Morgan takes a terrible run at Zach Collaros. Zach Collaros is able to get around him. Now, Niles Morgan's not the only guy that Collaros was able to elude in that play, but he runs for 13 yards for a touchdown. How do you allow that as a defense against Zach Collaros? If you can't stop Zach Collaros from running on you, who can you stop from running on you?
Well, yeah, and that's tough on Niles Morgan. I mean, that's going to happen sometimes. For it to happen at that time and to allow the touchdown, I don't know if it's completely fair to say, hey, Niles Morgan, that whole play is on you.
It's not on him. It's on others. But he's supposed to be the veteran and the leader of this. Like, you want to talk about rookies and all that. Like, especially like he is the veteran of that team, of that unit, and he blew it on that play more, like along with others. But right now, like the only defender that I would want to say I can give Nick Anderson. It doesn't seem like we're often saying, look at that mistake Nick Anderson made.
No, Nick Anderson flies around the field. Nick Anderson is definitely a strength. But how about a guy like Robbie Smith? Big free agent signing. I have not heard his name mentioned once. At least you could say Jake Serezin stepped up and had a couple big plays, big moments. And then that roughing the passer on Kongbo. I mean, this is just extending drives.
I know, but here's where I get a little frustrated with you officiating in the CFL is those by the rule are penalties. There were 2 called roughing the passers on the Elks tonight, and the hands hit the head of Collaros. By rule, those are penalties. They're not vicious penalties, but those are penalties. I'm sorry. At the end of the game, I'll just quickly, Leak gets tackled out of bounds, 4 steps out of bounds. And that's not a flag somehow because, well, what's he supposed to do? I'm sorry. By the rule book, they were well out of bounds and Leak got thrown out and Leak was a little hobbled after that. You're going to call those pass interference or roughing the passers, but you're not going to call the roughing the, unnecessary roughness on the Leak play. Sorry, I just had to go on there when it comes to the officiating.
Yeah, and it is, that was wouldn't have mattered, I guess, but
could have mattered for you.
Tough. Yeah. Well, Keon Julian Grant blew up my play of the day, which was Trey passing for more than 1.5 touchdowns. Well, that should have happened. Bounced off his helmet.
That's a rough look. And what makes this a little tougher right now, I know there was a little bit of injuries, but Alex Hollins was released after training camp. And one of the reasons was Benjamin Victor, good young guy, but you had these other receivers that you've brought in if you're at Hervey. Well, Keon Julian Grant was one of those guys. And he was largely invisible in week 1. Got a touchdown last week. Got a touchdown today, but he made a few critical errors in this one. And Gittins Jr., I saw a message in the Nasty Chat, and I do want to get into the Nasty Chat momentarily here and get into the inbox, 780-218-9999. I may have lost it already. Oh, Grant getting singled out, but all the wide receivers sucky. Mathis invisible, Gittins out to lunch. I will not say they're all sucky, quote unquote. You can't tell me Dunbar Jr. is sucky.
No, I thought Dunbar Jr. had a very good game.
That's back-to-back solid games from pretty much start to finish for Stephen Dunbar Jr. That guy's a player. That guy's a gamer. We've seen that right now, I think, from him. But, there was the late play where initially you're looking at the throw that Trey goes and where's this going to? And Gittins never looks for the ball.
No.
Like, I don't know if he ran the wrong route or whatever, but he never even looks to see where the ball is at any point. And it lands incomplete. Elks walk off the field. They're punting. Like, he hasn't been good enough this season himself. Like, they are supposed to be your number 2 and number 3 receivers in Gittins Jr. and Julian Grant. And they're not at that level right now with number 2 and number 3 receivers. The Elks, by the way, the defense, the Bombers were 5 for 5 on second down conversions between yards 4 and 6. Second 4, second of 5, second 6. The Bombers were perfect at converting those. They were 46% on conversions of 7+. Second and longs, 46% converting.
Well, that's the difference between a good team, a consistent team, and a team that just, you can't seem to get it together.
But what's wild is the Elks were the best at when they were second and short for the Bombers. When the Bombers were second, 1, 2, and 3, that was the Elks' best defense. Bombers only converted 33% of those. As weird as that is.
And they were rushing the ball well, Edmonton. But they ended up only rushing 14 times.
They completely gone away from it.
They're averaging 5.5 yards per carry.
Well, let's take a look at the second half. Let's see what happened on the Elks' offensive possessions. Elks got the ball. They ran the ball 3 times in the second half.
Yeah, well, that's not enough.
5 times. 5 times in the second half. 2 times on the touchdown
10 times
drive.
in each half.
2 times in the first drive, and then it was 1-0, 1-1, 0-0-0 the rest of the game.
But I mean, you look at this is just such a weird game. Because you look at the second drive for Edmonton. Trey's throwing the ball from the pocket. They attack the middle of the field. They ran a misdirection play.
It worked. Good, that was Julian Grant too. It was a great run by him.
6-play, 65-yard touchdown. Wow. This team's got it together. So I guess if you're looking for a bright spot, there is an offense in there.
Yes.
But they need to be able to put it together when it matters most.
When the game's in like not when they're down by 15.
No.
Right? Like what we saw last week. When the pressure mounts, can you step up? And at the same time, can you do it for, like, you're never going to have an offense that's going to roll for 4 quarters completely. There's going to be, stops and things like that. But can you do it consistently for 3 quarters of a game? That's what you want to see. But you're right. There is an offense there for this Elks team to build off of this season. The question is, can they do it on a consistent basis? And when the pressure matters. JC the Glazer in the inbox. I've watched a lot of Elks losses over the years, and I'm usually mad after the game because they pissed it away on dumb mistakes. But I'll give them credit this game. They actually hung in there for 3 quarters, having said that they need to figure out the defensive backfield. It is awful. Coach Mike, maybe the rest 0-3 start. Haven't put close to a 60-minute effort in. What's a realistic record the rest of the way? Maybe not the rest of the way, but how about Labor Day? Well, I will answer this to Coach Mike. I'm not going to waver off of my prediction of this team because I didn't like the start of this season when I looked at it on paper in terms of the schedule. I predicted 10 wins this season for the Edmonton Elks, and I'm looking at going week by week. I'm sticking with that. Now, if they go and lose to the Ottawa Red Blacks next Sunday on July 8th, my prediction, I will throw out the window. I will throw
July
that completely.
6th.
July 6th. I will throw that completely out of my July 8th, our golf tournament. July 6th, I will completely throw it out the window, and I will tell you they'll win maybe 3-4 games or something. I'll change everything. But if I do believe that this team they need that one win, and then they'll feel good about themselves and they'll be able to get going. They just need that one win. But that's where I'm still going to stick with Coach Mike. I'm still sticking with 10 wins for this team. And maybe I'm just a hopeless romantic in a way with this Edmonton Elks team.
I don't know. I still don't know who this team is.
We'll know on July 6th. One way or another, I think.
I guess you can say that there was flashes of positive play. Yeah. There was flashes of brilliance from the defense, but then there was times where, here, I'm just going to throw it deep and we're going to outwork you. Are the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. It was just a really...
Well,
it's just a really weird, confusing game. Nothing that happened made much sense, especially at the end of the game. Usually when you have the momentum like that, you can harness it. You can carry it forward. But man, I don't know, maybe we're not giving enough credit to Winnipeg for stifling that momentum going into the fourth quarter for the Elks.
And then that winning mentality in that organization, they have it in their DNA to know how to come out in the fourth quarter and win. Here's where, you want to look at something that the Elks could look at, and this is taking credit to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. The Bombers had a 26 lead after 3 quarters against BC last week. The Bombers had a 28-20 lead in week 2 when they hosted the BC Lions. The Elks were tied tonight, 23-23. I'll put them ahead of Montreal just because of their pedigree of historically. I'll put them ahead of Montreal. This is the best team in the Canadian Football League. And through 3 quarters, you were tied with them. I will. That's where there's something with this team that they could go do it. JC the Glazer saying, I'm not as upset, like in quote, paraphrasing what he says there, I'm not as upset about this. I understand why. I understand why some Elk fans would be that way today and feel a little good going into that game against Ottawa. Going into when we get closer to that, on July 6th and the kickoff show is coming, I know I'm going to be quite a positive guy that day. It's going to be weird. Not usually positive. But I think I will be once I get past this loss and I allow this one to breathe a little bit. But you look at 3 quarters and they were there, even as bad as that defense played. It was 23-23 in the end after 3 quarters. Maybe this is one of those learning lessons they need.
Yeah. I mean, and you know, I saw a comment saying that the O-line was Swiss cheese. They got 3 sacks. They got home a couple times. I still thought Trey had decent amount of time to throw the ball.
Yeah, I don't think that he was ever rushed.
Well, there was a couple times he was sacked or he was pressured out of the pocket.
But I believe that was blitzes.
Martez Ivey had a
tougher game for you.
Tough game.
Yeah, I could see that.
You're going up against Willie Jefferson. I get it, but he's supposed to be the lock solid left tackle. Not so much tonight.
I didn't see an offensive line like I did in week 1 against BC where I didn't think Trey had any time to throw the football. Trey had time to throw the ball deep downfield today.
Yep.
And Dusty pointed out on the broadcast line, he only had 1 run officially.
6 yards, yeah.
6 yards. He did try moving late, but it seemed like Trey had a focus tonight. I don't know if this was something he wanted to. I don't know if this is something that Jordan McSimic wanted to, but there was a focus of him staying in the pocket tonight. They did roll him out a little bit. There was a couple of plays I do recall, but for the most part, it seemed like they wanted him to be a pocket quarterback tonight. And I said it with Hernan, I didn't want that going into tonight's game because I don't think that's a recipe for beating the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more running from Trey tonight. You want to move down this season and slowly build him into that full pocket, sure. But tonight, I feel like he was maybe too caged. But I don't look at that as I can't look at tonight and look at the offensive line and be like, that was the reason the Elks had struggles. I thought they played a pretty okay game.
Yeah,
O-line wise.
And even in the fourth quarter, I think maybe they beat themselves a bit. The offense.
Yeah, I like just taking shots downfield. Yeah. It felt Madden-esque.
Like just chill out, run the ball.
Yeah, it felt Madden-esque. Like we just got to throw the ball deep and try to get all
a drive.
Yeah, they didn't want to put together a drive. They just wanted to get the big play and get deep and score points. The Madden play that you always do when you're a kid, just Hail Mary, Hail Mary, Hail Mary. Now it wasn't Hail Marys, but just throw it deep, as opposed to, as you say, let's get to screens again, or let's just throw a 5-yard pass and let's just methodically move our way down the field.
You've got lots of time.
Let's get the defense a little bit of a rest too.
Exactly, yeah.
And they didn't want to do that. They just wanted to throw it deep. Let's just go deep.
Yeah. Like I said, I wrote down here, tale of 2 quarters, the third and fourth. I mean, just one was dominant, one was porous. And I'm speaking of the Elks defense. I guess maybe what we've learned about this team is that they're incredibly inconsistent through 3 games. They can't sustain much, whether it be good play, poor play, drives. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But inconsistent. I think if I was to summarize this team through 3 games, The term I would use is inconsistent. I think that for me, that hits the nail on the head.
Yeah. I'll go to defensively. Week 1 had a great first half for the large part. Second half got lit up. Yeah, I will go with you on that one. I'm just going to rattle off some comments from the nasty chat. RPK by 5, their best game, guys. The brutal roughing the passer was a killer. O-line is coming around some. Special teams very, very good. Abutski, they're not great yet, but they shouldn't be written off. 15 games to go. Hope springs eternal. Where's my mouse? Penner's pancakes. Ottawa's a must-win, or the season will unravel very quickly. Big U got to beat Ottawa. What else do we have here? Why didn't the Elks control the clock better at the end of the game? They were only down by 13 on that last drive. That's a good question. I thought they moved it mostly well, but maybe they, I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at that one a little bit closer, I would say. Yeah, Russell. Also, why didn't they just chuck it down with a minute left? They're down 2 scores. It was a bit confusing. Yeah, they did kind of reverse then. Mm-hmm. Late in the game, they tried methodically moving when there's a minute some left.
Yeah.
But when they had the time, they went for the deep balls. What else do we have here? Rory, I'm going to be crazy. We can be in a playoff position after the Labor Day rematch. Yeah, Matt Hyman. Collaros had more rushing yards than Ford. He did. In the inbox, Jason Stevens says, Jay, you're right, man. This team's got potentials. Ron saying, you guys did not give Collaros enough credit. I thought Edmonton fans supported their teams. The attendance at your stadium is disgraceful. Shame on your fans. Ron, what team do you cheer for? I'm curious.
I thought we gave Collaros quite the flowers.
Yeah, I'm also curious what team he cheers for. The reason there aren't people at the games, and I don't know if this is a Bombers fan. I'm trying to look at his history to see who he's with. Here's the thing, Ron. Take away 2014, take 2015 away from the history of the Edmonton Elks. Since 2006, this team has been awful. Take those 2 years away. They are outliers. They are truly outliers since 2006. This team's hosted 1 playoff game outside of those 2 years. That's why people aren't showing up. Because this team hasn't won in 20 years. That's why. I don't care about name change. I don't care pricing. I don't care about a lot of other things that do play a little bit of a factor in this as well. But why would people keep spending money to go watch their team lose? And that's been the case since 2006. You tell me that Winnipeg is going to keep supporting the Blue Bombers or whatever team you cheer for are going to keep supporting the team full attendance after 20 years of garbage. You won't. So I won't say shame on Elks fans. I actually believe that teams actually sometimes look and going, the praise that Oiler fans got for selling out Rexall Place in the decade of darkness is kind of misguided, because honestly, what you should do is send a message to the organization when you're bad saying, get better and then I will come back. And I think that's the message that the Elks fans have sent them. The organization. You haven't been good enough. Figure it out. We'll come back. And we have seen over the last couple of years when they have had little winning spurts, people are starting to come back.
Did Niles Morgan make a tackle all night? Yes, he made 5. Bronco Nick in the inbox. Throwing in rhythm over the middle stopped after the first quarter. Winnipeg rushed 3 a few times and got beat. O-line was better, but not good. Didn't run the ball in the fourth quarter when it was close. McSimic play calling was bad. I would agree that McSimic's play calling was bad in the fourth quarter. It felt like they were down 23-10 with that play calling. They were in a tie game. Why do you deviate? Why do you put yourself in second and long situations when you've been getting 5 yards like clockwork with the run? I understand there was a couple of runs where they got stuffed at the line. Hey, that's going to happen. So did Winnipeg. But you were averaging 5.5 yards. That's what the average figure ended up at the end of the night. Why aren't you taking advantage of that? Putting yourself in second and short. That opens the playbook up vastly. Just a very, very poor performance in the fourth quarter. When it mattered, that's a point that I'm going to really harp on here. is that when it matters, this team cowers in the corner. This team can't play big boy football when their time is called. They can't. They've proven that now.
Well, Suits even said just at times when he's pointing out with the defensive backs, they're too scared to make plays because they're worried of that deep ball. They got scared, and you can't play scared.
No,
but when they don't play scared, they're getting beat.
It just feels like the Elks secondary make receivers look really good. Really good. Schoen 6 catches, Dembski 5 catches, Wheatfall 3 catches, Clercius 3 catches, Peterson 3 catches, Stearns 2 catches.
Antonio Alfano in the nasty chat. I played for the Edmonton last year and personally can say I believe that last year the team had more talent in the locker room and on the field, especially at wide receiver. One, if you're listening, thank you, Antonio. What I will say is, at least when it comes to receivers, Dunbar Jr. is a player. I'll stand by that one, and he's shown it the last 2 weeks. But they need a lot better from the rest of the receiving corps. Gittins Jr., not good enough. Julian Grant, we 2 major drop balls that you just can't have. Even Mathis on the I think it was the interception that Trey threw that was called back because it hit the turf. You jumped. You did not like that he didn't rush to go make a play on that play. That Mathis just stood there for a little too long after that interception, and you just got to be engaged. And I think through a couple of weeks, we've seen Zach Mathis at times just not want to get engaged in ways that you need to when times are a little tough. So I will agree on that part, especially though right now, is that the receiving core is a concern to me as we move into the season. If there is a part of this team that I go, I don't know if the players are there. I still will say with the secondary, I think there are players there. I think that there are players that could step up and make plays. This receiving core is concerning me. We're outside of Dunbar. I don't have a lot of confidence in the other receivers necessarily right now.
Yeah, I don't. That's a tough one, Matty.
I thought it was their weak spot coming into this.
It is, and truthfully, they're probably
they'd be the worst,
the weakest
the
receiver core out of the 9 teams in the CFL.
Yeah,
but aside from Kion Julian Grant's drops tonight, what was some other
Gittins Jr.? What has he done this season?
He was targeted twice tonight.
And that tells me one thing is that you're not getting open.
Yeah, that's fair.
This is where it'd be nice to have some sort of coach's film to go review it and see is he getting open or not. But one of the things, there's one of 2 things is happening there. Trey is not targeting you because he's not looking for you, which that's a concern for okay, where's that in Trey's progressions? But the flip side to that would be, is he getting open? Or is Trey progressing past him because he looks at Gittins Jr. and is going, the guy's not open. This is the second time this season he's had, I think, 2 targets in a game. I think in BC it was only 2 targets as well. We might as well eventually play both of these because we do have audio of Mark Killum as well as Trey Ford that we'll get to. Somebody did ask Antonio what's he up to nowadays. He says, I'm a firefighter back in New Jersey. I'm glad you're still staying in touch with the Canadian football.
Thanks for tuning in, man. That's great.
And I'm guessing watch the football game as well. That's the thing I love about CFLers is that when they go away, they still watch the game because it is a great game. This was, from an outsider perspective, this was a fun Thursday night football game.
Sure.
It was an entertaining football game. That was a good product that we saw on the field.
And I mean, if you have a player that played with the team last year, Antonio Alfano was a defensive end.
Yeah, he was on the D line. He was taken in the supplemental draft in 2024.
If you have somebody that's saying that the talented receiver was deeper last year, how can you and I sit here and dispute that? I mean, that was somebody that was in the locker room, but I agree.
I would like to see Benjamin Victor show up, get a little more playing time right now.
The depth of receiver. But I mean, this team had to make some decisions. They had some players that they had to spend some money on.
Yep.
And One of them is their quarterback, Trey Ford.
His actually contract, I think this year is lower. Like I don't think they're spending. When you look at the roster, when you're looking at the roster construction from last year to this year, I think they're spending less on quarterback than they were last year.
Well, that was a terrible contract with MBT.
I know, but Trey would have gotten a raise, but then Cody came in, and I think combined they're still less than what MBT got last year. Ed instead spent money on the defense. Robbie Smith is one of the highest paid defenders in the Canadian Football League. Ed put a lot of money on his defense right now for this season, and it hasn't panned out early yet.
Jimmy Onishi says, Edmonton Sports Talk, I enjoyed the fan atmosphere of Princess Auto Stadium more than the game itself. If the Elks didn't suck, then they could probably pull those numbers too. I agree. Win and people show up. Suck, good luck.
Yeah, it's not going to be a good crowd on July 6th.
Nor should it be.
I'll tell you that right now. I'm not going to expect a good crowd that way.
No. Who wants to go cheer on a team that is Jekyll and Hyde? I honestly... But okay, let's get back to this receiver thing first. I want to. Sure. Can you pin this game on the receivers?
Partially, yeah.
One receiver.
Yeah.
Kion Julian Grant.
Yeah.
Drop 2 big balls.
Yeah. 100%. That one touchdown, one makes it a. What is it? The Elks scored 13, so 17 points. It'd be 23-17 at halftime. And when he dropped the ball on that second down. Julian Grant. Where was that in this game? Let me just find it. It wasn't that play. Sorry, give me a quick second here. I think it was this one. It was a 3-point ball game. 2 passes were thrown to him. Second down, though, he missed it. The Elks were at their 40. If he catches that ball, they're at midfield. With 11 minutes to go, they might be in field goal range. If they're one more first down. It's a tie football game.
Yeah.
But you take the 4 points they already had, they're up 1 in theory. Now, butterfly effect, things are different, but they're up 1 if Julian Grant makes his play, makes 2 catches.
Dave in Section T in the inbox. I don't think this defense has the personnel for cover 0. Too much man-to-man for this crew of DBs. Your thoughts? I agree 100%. I said it earlier that Devondrick Bynum is a liability at the short field weak side corner. He is a liability. You cannot leave him in one-on-one coverage. And then look what, Jalen Garnes came in as a strong side linebacker. One-on-one coverage. Dembski makes him a nice play. And another deep ball in the first quarter. J.C. Sherritt needs to know his personnel a little bit better. Because this is happening over and over again. Mm-hmm. 2 touchdowns tonight came in cover 0. Cover 0, for those wondering, what's cover 0? Cover 0 is when you're blitzing. And when you blitz, that means you're in cover 0. So it's one-on-one. You don't have any help. Nobody's there to help you.
So it's one-on-one, completely.
One-on-one. You're alone.
Defensive back or member of the secondary, or whoever is covering with the receiver, and that's it.
Can't do it. You cannot do that with Bynum. You need to have some sort of a presence or some sort of help over him. It's too costly. Every game this year, he's been torched. And it's like, what are you looking at? Why do you keep putting him in this situation? Not good.
Can I ask you a question from Coach Mike?
I'd love you to ask me a question.
More likely right now, Elks offense scores 40 plus, defense holds an opponent to 120.
Oh, geez. Elks score 40 plus.
I think it's easy. That's an easy answer for me.
Yeah, because this defense can't hold a bag of groceries, let alone hold a team to under 20 points. This defense is not good. And I shouldn't say they're not good. They're inconsistent. Very inconsistent.
And had you got the catch today from Julian Grant, had Rankin not fumbled the ball, you could put maybe 13 points on the board. No, it's 10 points on the board. That's 33 points. And you're asking for 7 more points. I think against a different defense, yes. The Elks over the last 2 weeks took on what I would say are the 2 best defenses and 2 best teams in the Canadian Football League. Against a different defense or a different yeah, against different defense, I think this offense could put up 40. But I do struggle mightily thinking about who this defense can stop, because it's, I guess they kind of stopped MBT last week. But today, like, I still will just go to, you allowed Collaros to run for 13 yards on you. And around 3 different guys. When you desperately need a stop there. And you can't even step up and make a play there. I quickly want to go through the stats. We do have Mark Killum. We do have Trey Ford. I do want to play audio from the Elks on that. Trey Ford, 18 of 29 for 252 yards and a touchdown. As you mentioned, he only rushed the ball once for 6 yards. Leak, 7 carries for 42 yards. Rankin, 7 carries for 30 yards. Julian Grant on a design run had 1 carry for 14 yards. So overall, that's 15 rushing attempts tonight for the Edmonton Elks. On pace, that was a good number where they were, but that number should have been into the 20s had they not abandoned it like they did. Julian Grant, 5 catches for 115 yards and a touchdown. Apologies for my little hiccup there. Dunbar Jr., 5 for 55. Smith, 4 for 47, which Bronco Nick does bring up an interesting point. Went to Arkel Smith early, then nothing. He went 4 for 4 with 47 yards. Zach Mathis, 2 catches for 20. Rankin, 1 for 9. Julian Grant, 1 for 6. Dick Anderson, he led the way with 6 defensive tackles. They got a QB sack tonight. Jake Serezna getting to Zach Collaros. On the other side, Collaros, he was great. 25 of 30. He had 5 incompletions tonight. 334 yards, 3 touchdowns. He also rushed the ball for a touchdown and 13 yards. Matthew Peterson, the U of A product. 12 carries for 65 yards. He also caught the ball 3 for 11. Dalton Schoen, 6 for 75. Nick Dembski, 5 for 97 and 2 touchdowns. Wheatfall, 3 for 62 and a touchdown. Clasiris, 3 for 53. Stearns, 2 for 26, leading the way for them. Jones had 6 tackles. They also got to Trey 3 times. And kicking side, Vincent Blanchard, 3 for 3. Perfect on field goals. He's 5 for 5 over the last 2 weeks, as well as 2 for 2 on his extra points. Good for Vincent Blanchard. Oh, and returns, I guess. Leak, punt return averaged 13.6. He had a 30-yarder on that one. He also averaged 31 yards per return on a kickoff return. Arkel Smith struggled a little more today on the kickoff return, only averaging 14. Who do you want to hear from first, Mark Killum or Trey Ford?
Killum.
You want Killum? Okay, let me set this up. We've got to get the ad to go through. We don't want to play this ad here. Okay, here's head coach of your Edmonton Elks, Mark Killum, following the loss to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers as the Elks did fall 36-23 in Winnipeg.
They're all tied up. What do you think ended up happening there?
We got to figure out how to win games in the final 5 minutes. That's the difference between our football team and theirs. They're a group that's been there before, and we have to look at ourselves in the mirror and get better at what we can do better in that last 5.
Tyrell Ford at halftime said he felt like it wasn't like their offense was doing anything special. Did you feel that way too?
I don't know about all that. I mean, they play a certain type of football, and they ran it down our throats when everybody knows that's what Winnipeg does at the end of the game. So that's where we've got to get over the hump. We've gotten better 3 weeks in a row. But it's about winning, and it's about doing the things that we need to get better to be on the other side of this result.
What was it about that long drive that they had that Collaros capped off? And what were they doing?
I'll have to look at the film. Yeah.
Was there a positive to the fact that you were able to try to stop that run game, something that they're known for?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of positives in that. I mean, it was a three-point game with 5.5 minutes to go or something like that. I mean, I think it was pretty close. But like I said, we've taken some steps, but we're not there yet as a group. I'm proud of these guys. I think we got a lot of fight, and we have gotten better. But we've got to continue to do that so we can be on the other side of this.
How do you evaluate Trey's performance tonight?
I'll look at the film and I'll meet with the coaching staff. I thought he did some nice things. I thought we had a couple of lineman errors, so I don't know what that is, if we got the call out the wrong way or it was just a misassignment on someone else's part. But I'll look at the film, we'll evaluate it. Thanks.
There you go. That's Mark Killum. Your thoughts on what he said? He did say better 3 weeks in a row. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Because I do.
Yeah, I think it's hard to not agree with that. There were glimpses of improvement. But once again, I mean, what he said is true. I mean, this team needs to find a way at the end to, grab the bull by the horns and get involved and not just be so passive. Both sides of the ball, offense and defense. But yeah, I think that, with 5 minutes left, Zach Collaros rushes for 13 yards, gets the touchdown.
On a 2nd and 8.
And a 2nd and 8.
Imagine
when
if
you
they
can
get
hold
that
them to a field goal there.
6-point game.
It's a 6-point game.
Yeah.
And you don't have the sting of being down now by 9 points. Or 10.
Yeah, ultimately 10.
Ultimately
after
10.
the extra point.
So that's a swing. That's just, and to be honest, when you look at that, Niles Morgan looked gassed on that play.
And that's where, for this one, I will give the D credit or the benefit of the doubt and be like, the offense wasn't doing enough in the prior and the defense was tired. The offense just wasn't, they weren't getting first downs. And that's the one, I don't want teams to have 2 and outs when you're in offense. That's the thing. And when you look at
that's an 11-play, 71-yard drive.
The Elks had 2 first downs after their touchdown. And before the end of the game when they got 3. They only had 2 first downs on 2 different drives. That's not enough to give your defense a rest. After what they did in that third quarter, they needed a little bit of a breather, and the Elks offense wouldn't give it to them. I don't need points from an Elks offense all the time. It was in those moments you just needed 2 first downs. You needed to kill 2 minutes off the clock or whatever to give that defense the breather. Maybe you're right. Maybe just Niles Morgan's just completely tired on that play.
But if that's the case, and you're getting into those double-digit territory drives, take a timeout. This is a huge moment in the game. You stop them on 2nd and 8, force a field goal. You can still come back down the field and take the lead. Yeah, but I got to agree with Coach Killum that there have been improvements.
And that's the positive.
I know that's not what you all want to hear.
Although I will say, I think you and I are more closer on the negative side than where more of our listeners are.
Probably. It just was such a debacle of a fourth quarter. I don't know that I've ever seen a team in such a important, heated battle fall so flat, particularly on offense. And I will throw some of that on Jordan McSimic. Jordan McSimic was this was a big test for him tonight. And I thought he was passing the test quite well. I thought he was doing good.
Was that Reed's person to watch? Was that one of his? Yeah.
And then in the fourth quarter, you're down. At one point, you're down 3 points with 12 minutes left. And you're still doing these weird, you're forcing yourself into 2nd and longs. It's just, I don't know. It's a really strange fourth quarter. That's you're going to hear that a lot. So forgive me, but
let's hear from Trey Ford, the starting quarterback of your Edmonton Elks, post game with the media.
With that big bomb to start what looked to be like a comeback. What kind of happened after that?
I thought we stalled a little bit after that. I thought we played well offensively in the first half. We came out and scored. Then the second half, like the third quarter, we definitely stalled a little bit. And that's on the quarterback, right? We got to get our offense moving. We need to play full 4 quarters. And then I feel like a little bit in the fourth quarter too, we stalled, and then we're a little bit in catch-up mode. But I think if we can play a better 15 minutes in between there, we put ourselves in a better situation to win.
I know your coach and your team's talked about sometimes it's just that difference in 2 or 3 plays, and that's maybe how you felt last week. Is that how you feel again this week?
There's definitely some things, we would have liked to do out there that we didn't do. But same thing for Winnipeg, right? There's always going to be plays you want back or plays you want to change, but that's part of football. That's what it is. So
0-3 to open this season. How does that feel looking at how you guys have had a pretty good fourth quarters the last 2 games?
Obviously it's unfortunate. Nobody wants to be 0-3, right? But that's what it is right now. I think we're feeling pretty good in our locker room. I think, I think we know that we left some stuff out there. And it was still a close game. I think they were up by 3 with like 5 minutes left. And Winnipeg's an experienced team. They were able to close and win the game. They did a great job, so shout out to them. But we got to be better, and I think we know that we are right there, and we got to make those plays that we didn't make.
And when you see Zach Collaros escape from pressure there and run in, I mean, what do you think when you watch a veteran like that be able to do that?
Yeah, I mean, he balled today, right? I think he threw for, 350 or something, right? And he had that rushing touchdown. He's getting a little bit older, but he can still move. A veteran quarterback, he did a great job today.
What about the Bombers' defense? Felt like it was tough on you out there tonight.
In the first quarter, honestly, we felt pretty good. And then we came out of the third and had that big play. We were feeling good, but then I feel like, they were able to stop our run a little bit more in the third quarter, put us in some second and longs, and they drop everybody once they're in second and long. But I still think we were able to convert on a couple, but looking back, like I was just saying, there's a couple plays we missed. I know one play, our receiver slipped. We ended up coming back to the same play and was there, and I missed the throw a little bit high. You can always point fingers and try to blame people, but we're a team. We're going to stick together. Nobody's pointing fingers. We just got to be better.
It sounds like, too, this is a franchise that has had some tougher starts to seasons in the last few years, but being 0-3 this year, does it just feel different? Does it feel more positive, like you're trending in the right direction?
Yeah, I would say, because I feel like the games were, closer games. I think last year we had a couple close games early on, too. But yeah, actually, I wouldn't say it feels better. It always sucks to be 0-3. But you always got to try to look for the bright spots as well. Learn from the failures. But yeah, perfect.
That was Trey Ford speaking with the media following tonight's loss to the Bombers, 36-23. This is the Green and Gold postgame show. Matt, Iwanyk and Jay Milne with you. Thoughts on what Trey had to say?
I don't like that. I don't like that. That what he just said, how he said it, does not sit well with me.
Which part?
All of it. I don't like this laissez-faire attitude. We got to give it to Winnipeg. Man, they came out and... What are you talking about? You're 0-3. Oh, it's unfortunate, but we're feeling good in the locker room. What? Pardon me? You're 0-3. What part of you should feel good in the locker room right now?
The part would be that they're getting better each week, as the coach said. That they're improving and they are getting better, and this isn't.
I get it.
That would be the one thing I would point to if maybe that's what they're going from in the locker room.
I don't know. I would like to see somebody come out and say, "What do you mean? How do you feel? I'm pissed off. We just lost a game that we were in. We could have had that game. I'm pissed off. How do you think I'm supposed to feel?" I don't
disagree with you.
I understand. Maybe it's quarterback. You want to keep composed.
But I also don't want, I don't want that room to still be feeling the pressure fully at 0-3 because of what I've seen this organization do when they feel the pressure and it unravels with them. I will go, this is an organization, these players weren't here. The majority of these players weren't here for this. With 2 years ago, on opening game against Saskatchewan, they blew it. They had the 3 shots from the 1 to punch it in. That
was last year.
No, that was 2 years ago. Last year was a different one.
You're talking about Saskatchewan?
Where they couldn't get the QB sneak in.
Sorry.
And it just was so deflating. You could tell for that team. They just, in week 1, they were they mentally were broken. And I don't want the Elks to be at a point where I feel like maybe they're closing in on mental break. So I agree with you that there's a balance to that where it can't be just all chill.
No, you need to have some fight here.
I'm not ready yet to say I want him to be like, I'm pissed off. But I'm with you. I don't want, maybe Trey's maybe a little too nice of a guy in that situation to go, because as soon as I was hearing that question, it's a tough question. And I can get where the reporter's coming from with it, but how does it feel to be 0-3? And it's well, what do you think? We're 0-3. And I kind of I understand why he didn't bite at that reporter for that question. Captain Crunch in the nasty chat. Hey, thanks guys for doing this. Joined late to the party. Huge Oilers fan, but I grew up in Winnipeg. Blue Bombers never left Winnipeg, so I still feel I'm still a huge Bomber fan. That being said, Edmonton did well to hang in there until the third, but Winnipeg too strong for them, and that's very much the case in this one. Morale is already down. Fans dwindling. Who wants to support a team with a disgruntled starting quarterback? That's Adam's S's counter to you. Do you want Trey to be disgruntled in a sense that where it comes across that way? Does that impact anything too?
No, I'd like to see a little bit more emotion. I guess a little bit more. Like this is the same post game interview he's given for all 3 losses. I know it's a very minor detail. I just don't know how you can be in a game like football is very emotional. Football is emotional highs, emotional lows. And I get that, you've cooled off a bit, but I still want to see a little bit of piss and vinegar out of a player. Now that's just me. Okay. So,
well, Wheels agrees with you.
I see that.
Jay, Jay, I agree with you totally. I'm pissed off that they lost that game. That was unacceptable. They got into the game that they should have won. It did not feel good that they're 0-3, the Ottawa game. July 6th is big game, basically, the season on the line. Continue.
Yeah, I don't know. I get it. That's my opinion. I like a little bit more fire out of somebody, especially out of a battle like that, which you eventually, in the fourth quarter just fell flat. Adam S says, I'd rather see piss and vinegar out of the coach than the quarterback. Yeah, there's probably some merit to that comment. But
I also like that it's not a coach that will just be like, we played fine, and then throws like sitting there and like, yeah, I got to watch the film. I haven't seen any of this. I don't why like he could have asked how was Trey's play. He could have been like, yeah, no, Trey was fine. Trey did well enough, and we'll go into next week. But he's like, he didn't really say anything either way. He just went, I need to go review the film, because I do think these coaches need to. It's hard to see everything when you're on the sideline. Antonio Alfano back in the nasty chat as well. Gino, Hergy, Tevin Jones, Kevin Cobb, a few guys from last year made some huge plays and had some big games for us. Just don't see that explosive this year yet. It will click soon, though. I still believe within a pray emoji, which I think a lot of people want that as well.
They're gonna need all the prayers they can get.
Well, it's going to be interesting because we don't I think by the time Ottawa rolls into town, we don't know who's going to be the starting quarterback this weekend. Drew Brown was throwing, but Dustin Crum looks to be the starting quarterback for Ottawa, which it might be. They're slated to maybe have, I think they've had 3 different starting quarterbacks in their first 3 weeks this season. By the time next Sunday rolls around, I think there's a chance Drew Brown's back in the starting lineup for the Ottawa Red Blacks. They also got Gino Lewis coming back to try to send the general manager in this organization a little bit of a message. He's going to be a fired up wide receiver in that game. But the Elks have time off. Like, it's
they
Thursday.
get an extended break.
It's like it's a week and a half. It's almost like they have a little mini bye coming up here. They need to be ready to go. There's, to me, as there are some moral victories, there are some things I could take away from this. Looking at this franchise and going, I could see the positives for this team to build off of. Like I said, I'm not gonna. I actually feel still pretty good about my 10-win prediction. I'll still say that tonight. I still feel good on that. But all week I've been saying July 6th is the one I have circled. You can't drop that one. You can't lose that one, because now it's going to snowball, and it's going to be not okay when you get your first win. But how many wins are you really actually going to get this year? You're not going to get many. It's almost done. And, I know one text has already come in saying, how long does Trey have until maybe Cody? I don't think that's a question until after July 6th. If the Elks fall to the Ottawa Red Blacks, the questions will fully be turned up, and rightfully so if the Elks do fall to 0-4 this season. They get that win, Trey's still the starting quarterback of this team. But there's a lot of pressure on this team now, and there's no moral victory that game. I don't care how they lose. There's not a chance there's going to be a moral victory on July 6th in any way, shape, or form. It's either going to be won or lost. And if you lost, there's going to be a lot of pissed off people. And if you won, awesome. Maybe this starts the season for the Edmonton Elks, who have also not won a game in June since 2019.
So they're hosting the Red Blacks. They're hosting the Lions. They're in Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
And then they're hosting Hamilton.
Yeah.
They could go. You see 3 wins. I could see right now. I'd say 2.
Ottawa, Hamilton is the 2 you see.
Yeah,
they'll go to Saskatchewan and
win. Okay. Well, let's see. I mean, look, the question was moral victories.
Yeah.
I think you saw a team that did some really good things. You saw a defense that played the best they've played, but it was unfortunately for one quarter. That's going to become this is a pattern already. In 3 games in, you can say this is a pattern. It should be the reverse, where you play good for 3 out of the 4 quarters. And sure, you can have a quarter that maybe wasn't your greatest. Look at Winnipeg tonight. They played great in the first quarter, great in the second quarter, great in the fourth quarter. The third quarter was the one they didn't do anything. The Elks defense only playing good for 1 quarter, that's not going to cut it.
The offense playing good
offense was good and great in the third quarter. They came out great. They started the game decent. But how do they put it together? How do they become more consistent?
And get that killer instinct in them.
Yeah, and I don't have the answer, but winning sure cures a lot of issues. And it gives you a lot of obvious confidence. Everybody's circling this Ottawa game as a must win. And boy, it is. I know host of the Reed Wilkins show, my colleague Reed, does not like to use the word must win unless it's the absolute must win. So I guess I've got to call it a gotta have it.
And I'll go with the must win.
Yeah, but it might just be a must win.
Well, in
4 weeks into the season.
There is no free spots on a CFL card. And in fact, if there isn't one, you probably are it. Winnipeg's tough. Montreal's tough. In BC's tough.
Yep.
That is as tough of a schedule as you're going to have to start a season, I believe. You now got to go just get a victory. You should be, if you're not in the class of Winnipeg and Montreal, you better damn well show, though, that you're in the class of everyone else in the Canadian Football League. Otherwise, you are in your own class, and it's at the very bottom of the CFL. And that's why you're also home. It's just that simple. You're home. It's not even like you're going to Ottawa. You're at Play Alberta Field at Commonwealth Stadium. You don't win that football game, who are you beating this season?
Yep.
Who are you going to beat? And I would say at that point, I don't believe anyone. Any final thoughts for you, Jay?
No. I think I've said everything. I've said my piece, Maddie.
Oh, your foot scared me for a second. It came up. I thought like a cat came up or something like that. I was like, what the hell was that?
Hey, look, as much as this has been a bit of a poo-poo on the team, they've improved 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
You can't deny that. So hopefully come July 6th, they can put it all together and get a win. I think that would really, really change a lot of things for this team, for this organization, and for the city, for their fans. Fans deserve a win. Gosh darn it.
They deserve a team that is maybe even just 500 for a little bit, you know?
Glory, hallelujah.
Just something
we
like
would
that.
take that.
Yeah, let's just be around 500 for a little bit. The Edmonton Elks, they are 0-3. They fell 36-23 to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers out in Winnipeg this evening. Next up, as we mentioned, they host the Ottawa Red Blacks. It is a Sunday. It will be July 6th, 5 o'clock start, which means the Green and Gold kickoff show that day will get going at 4 o'clock with Jay and myself, Matt, as we will get you set for the big game for the Edmonton Elks. As a must-have, must-win, however you're going to want to word it. There's going to be a lot of pressure going into that game on this organization to see if they can improve a 4th straight week. And if that improvement would be enough for a victory. Anything less, it's going to be that next day, July 7th, will be interesting. If they don't get a win, thankfully, we'll have the golf tournament on July 8th to just for us to be ready for. Thank you to everyone for tuning in for the Green and Gold kickoff and this post-game show. We greatly appreciate it. And thank you to everyone for jumping in the nasty chat as well as the inbox at 780-218-99-989. Coming up tomorrow, a lot more coverage on the Edmonton Elks. Lost to the Bombers. It is NHL Draft Day. What other moves? Are there going to be any other trades? I know there's been some hints that maybe the Oilers will have another move or two prior to the draft. So we'll have that covered for you right here at Edmonton Sports Talk. It all gets going at 6 in the morning. It'll be Lieutenant Eric, Will Fraser, and YouTube Trev. We've got the Hangout, and we've got the rest of the day. I'll be back on the Hangouts. Jay will not be on air tomorrow. I'm sending him. He's done so well today.
I'm out of here.
I'm sending him away for the weekend. In fact, Jay's on vacation. He'll be back for July 6th. That'll be your next appearance on Edmonton Sports Talk. So enjoy your time off, Jay.
Thanks, buddy.
Once again, thank you to everyone for tuning into the Green and Gold post-game show. Elks fall 0-3 after a 36-23 loss to the Bombers. On behalf of Jay, I'm Matt. Thanks for tuning into the Green and Gold post-game show here on Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton Sports, presented by Play Alberta. I will talk with you tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your night.